Hi, I'm James McGuire, and on today's eSpeaks, we're talking about a technology that is having as big an impact as any technology here in 2022, and will almost certainly have a larger impact in the years ahead, and that's automation, specifically robotic process automation. To discuss that, I'm joined by one of the all-time leaders in the field. With me is Mihir Shukla, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Automation Anywhere. Mihir, so good to have you with us today.
It is a pleasure to be here. I am looking forward to our conversation.
Great. So let's talk about robotic process automation. It seems to me that in many ways, it's still a newer technology. It's certainly not on its way. I'm not sure it has reached mainstream adoption. I'd love to get your sense on that. And also, what's moving the RPA market here in 2022? What are the big trends?
James, one of the big trends that we are witnessing is its importance and urgency that I have never felt ever before. As I'm engaging with CXOs in our customer base, the conversation has taken a different level altogether. I'll share that. Some of the discussions we are having is, in every decade, a CEO or board has to solve about 2 or 3 problems right. Mm-hmm. And if you don't solve those problems right, it doesn't matter what other 100 things you do right. Mm-hmm. So in 1990s, CEOs had to solve globalization. In this decade, you have to solve deglobalization and managing your supply chain differently. Mm-hmm. So the discussion we are having is workforce transformation one of those top 3 priorities? Because we know for now and for the next 20 years, every year we will have less number of people working than we will have previous year. So it almost doesn't matter what products or services you create if you don't have enough people to serve it. A good example is an airline. If you go to most airports today, you have planes ready to fly and people ready to fly. You have supply, your demand, and nobody to serve those, to fly those planes.
I've been in those airports, yeah.
Isn't it? And so that's a perfect example. So the discussions we're having is, people have to think about their workforce transformation differently and take 20 to 30% of what we call work today, the mundane, repetitive, and things that can be automated. And can we shift it out of the way so that we can reallocate people to doing things that matters to us most and use people where they're most needed? Mm-hmm. And the response I'm getting from most CEOs is, this is becoming my top 3 priorities. CEOs are telling me I'm in this workforce discussion every week for one reason or the other. Mm-hmm. And I need to now solve it more strategic way. So automation, and again, not all automation is equal. What RPA does, and we have now gone beyond RPA to intelligent automation that brings multiple technologies, including AI and analytics together. Mm-hmm. And really elevating this discussion to say, how can we help our customers reimagine how the relationship with the workforce is, mm-hmm. and reimagine the future of work itself.
And certainly RPA can play a role in that by automating some of those work process methods. So what is it in terms of companies moving to adopt intelligent automation? What obstacles do you typically see? I mean, I know it can't be totally headache-free. Maybe it's a cost thing. Maybe the employees don't understand the technology. What problems do you see? And maybe most important, what advice do you give about those problems?
So that's a great question. Nothing is headache-free, especially any change requires a very intentional effort. Mm-hmm. What we are seeing, again, we recently published a report, Now and Next report, that covers insights from our nearly 5,000 customers. What customers are telling us is that, especially now more than ever, in light of inflation and workforce shortages, the need is more, but they need a sponsorship of executives. They need more, and CEOs and CXOs to, just like what we were saying earlier, bring a mandate down from top down and say, this is a priority for the company. Mm-hmm. And bring that energy together across various departments, not just finance, automation, or HR, or supply chain, but across every single knowledge worker, and say, how can we reimagine workforce transformation?
Do you think that companies get concerned about cost, in particular when it comes to RPA? I've heard some companies say, we adopted it, it wasn't what we thought it was, we ran into some problems. Is cost an issue typically?
For many projects, the RPA delivers a return within a year, if not in sometimes 3 to 6 months. Mm-hmm. But what we are seeing is the very fast adoption of cloud. So historically, many of our competitors have been on-premise. So if you're on-premise, you have an additional overhead of infrastructure and managing those infrastructures and managing upgrades of the software. That adds cost to the overall your cost of RPA. So in places where if you hear that, it is often most likely because those overheads are higher for them. What we see is, again, we offer our customers both choices on cloud and on-premise, but nearly more than 70% of our customers are adopting cloud because it is more cost-effective, it infinitely scales on demand, and the pace of innovation is just different. Between us innovating and reaching a customer, it's often a week or two, if that. So it is it's a game changer in how benefit is delivered and at what cost.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Automation Anywhere and its approach to these enterprise challenges. So what is the advantage of Automation Anywhere?
We continues to learn from our customers and guide our product roadmap and direction based on it. Today we see 3 large advantages that our customers tell us they find with us. One I mentioned is all about cloud. Just earlier this month, IDC declared we are the world leader in cloud RPA. We are, and I mentioned in our report, 95% of our customers told us that they have adopted a cloud-first strategy to all new deployments. Mm-hmm. And so we see that in our customer base as well. A very rapid deployment, and the fact that customers don't have to worry about long upgrade cycles. On-premise, sometimes it takes customers 6 to 9 months to upgrade things, and eventually you're 2 or 3 years behind innovation cycles. So a significant benefit on our platform. The second one we are seeing, James, is this emergence of a digital assistant for work. So about 2 years ago, we introduced a capability, we call it RE. It is a digital assistant for work. We all have assistant in our home, in Alexas and Siris, but we don't have one for work. Why can't I tell my digital assistant at work and say, can you process 30 to 50% of this mortgage application, and when you get stuck, I'll help you. Why don't we offload some of that to, and it's far more complex, of course, but why don't we do that? And so ever since we announced it, it has been a game changer, because for many of our customers, what we were able to do is bring power of automation to all knowledge worker in an enterprise. So if I'm a company with 50,000 knowledge workers, before maybe 1,000 people were getting benefit of automation. Now 50,000 people are using automation 10, 20, 30 times a day. Mm-hmm. And everybody's offloading some of their work to their digital assistant. Mm-hmm. It has been a true game changer for us and for our customers.
Can I ask you a question about that one point? I guess the digital assistant, I assume, is going to get better with time. I mean, the digital assistant is going to take some training, perhaps quite a bit of training, correct?
It does, but it is not as hard as you might think. So take an example of one of our bank customer. We were able to enable digital assistant at the first round, about 8 processes: open an account, close an account, move money, and so forth. Today, there are about 32 others, but we started with just 8, enabling 8 processes with a digital assistant. And in that example, 30,000 people using that digital assistant every day, many times a day. It's a reality, and often that can be accomplished in 3 to 4 months.
I may have interrupted you. Did you have one more point about automation anywhere?
I did. The last maybe as important as the other two is we've been offering our customer this unique capability to discover processes with artificial intelligence. So one of the challenge that our customers tell us is 80% of my processes are not documented. I don't know what they are. I know we are busy doing something, but I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes them sometimes many weeks, if not months, to document those processes. And so with this introduction of our capability, where we deploy AI, and within 2 weeks, it will tell you what we are doing, what work we are doing, what the processes look like. And imagine from many months to just 2 weeks, it has been a game changer again. And it is creating a huge pipeline for automation. So it is increasing demand, it is increasing understanding of their processes, and allowing customers to reimagine these processes. If you can see it, maybe you get rid of some processes and don't automate it. Maybe you reimagine some of the processes and you automate the ones that you like to automate. So it is, again, taking the conversation to a next level of what the future of work looks like.
What about that actual process of deploying it? It seems like it's possibly one of the challenges of RPA. So the company has purchased RPA, they're ready to get started with it, but how they deploy it is itself part of the issue. And maybe, do they have the staff on board to really deploy it properly? Does it require IT pros? Does it require data scientists? Does it require AI engineers?
Yeah.
What can you say about that process of deploying it? Because I think certain companies are nervous, like, we want to get started, but we don't have the people on hand to really set it up properly.
That is correct. You especially in current time, you need workforce to solve these challenges. We have, again, made it as easy as possible. So if you think about automation, what are the pieces that are required? You need people to discover and document processes. We have automated that with the process discovery solution that I just mentioned, whereas software itself will document it. We have capability to manage and run these processes on cloud so that you don't need people, you don't need IT staff to provision and manage all of this. We also now have capability to manage SLAs and monitor these processes and take actions if required. So what we call it, automating the automation, so that we are assisting our customers to accelerate this journey to automation. And again, in that process also only require people where they are useful. We also have a huge community, over 1 million users strong, that enables citizen developers, citizen users to learn about automation, develop basic skills about automation, enable and empower our team, the customers' teams, and make it as easy and as seamless as possible, so that most people, if not all, who is willing to can use and develop automation.
Interesting. Well, let's look into the future. I'd love for you to gaze in your crystal ball and tell me what the future of intelligent automation is. I mean, this conversation again in the year 2025 or so, and
yeah,
what is RPA going to look like, and what is automation going to look like then?
James, I love the question. I think we are just scratching the surface of automation, because what we are doing today at large, where we are automating things that we do today. But the purpose of technology is to be able to do things that we never did before. Mm-hmm. What is the point in driving a car to a same distance that a horse would take you? That would be a misuse of a technology. Mm-hmm. So to use that analogy, what are the things that we are not able to do today that we can now do with automation? And we've been seeing that with many customers, but it will come more and more mainstream. I'll share a couple of examples. During the last 2 years, where supply chain was a major issue for almost every organization, our innovative customers came up with bots that would manage inventory levels between their 32 warehouses and 325,000 items 4 times a day. So if one warehouse is 10 and another has 0, they'll move from 10 to 0. And to do that, it would take thousands and thousands of human hours if that is even possible to do that 4 times a day. So there are things that you are now able to do with automation that was not possible before. Some of our banking customers, they typically serve a much smaller population of the market because that's all they are able to manage credit worthiness of. Now with automation, they are able to check credit worthiness of far more number of people in market and serve additional 5% of the market that they didn't have an access to before. So there are hundreds of examples across various industries. But again, this is going to the future where being able to reimagine work in a way that we were never able to do before. I think by 2025, you will see increasingly more number of knowledge workers attached to their digital assistant, digital co-workers, and say, I need this digital assistant to do 10% of this work so that I can focus on what matters. Increasingly, more and more are attaching names to their digital assistant. This is Susie, or this is X, or this is Y. It's showing a kind of an affection, almost like a pet, if you will. So you're seeing the work relationship change between how employees are reimagining those processes with the digital assistant, with them, their colleagues, their suppliers, their customers. And you will see many employees will pick a job based on, do I get to work with a digital assistant? I don't want to take this job if I have to do everything myself manually. I want career, I don't want a job. And so career comes where there is automation. We are beginning to see it. You will see that those trends increase meaningfully next year.
What about the idea of automation actually being able to predict what the worker needs? I mean, you mentioned the example earlier of, would you please finish this mortgage application? We understand that. So what if the worker doesn't even know what he or she wants, but somehow the automation assistant can help predict that? To what extent is that possible now, or when would you think that would be possible, the looking ahead mechanism?
So some of that is possible now, and those trends will increase. So take example, I just was mentioning process discovery. I know I'm busy 6 hours of the day, but I'm doing thousands of different things, different actions and activities, but I don't know what my process looks like. And there are 32 other people in my group who seem to be doing similar to me, but I don't know if this, are we doing the same thing? Are we doing the different things? So it's a perfect example where you put AI in place. It will watch this, in my example, 32 different people. And within 2 weeks, from millions and millions of activities, it will say, you know what? All 32 of you seem to be doing this process. This is the process. These are the 18 steps to the process. By the way, there are 16 variations of this. Most of you seem to be following this main path. Maybe you should standardize on this main path where possible. And some of you are not quite doing the optimal route. Maybe you should follow a more optimal process route. So guiding us all of it to a more standardized where possible. And then, as you said, predicting and guiding us to what is the fastest route to executing a process. Just one example among many, but you're beginning to see that across various industries.
Interesting. Mihir, I think you said it. It's going to be a fascinating sector to follow in the years ahead. Thank you so much for sharing your insight today.
It was my pleasure. Great to have this conversation. Thank you.